Hey guys, it's me Delta One here with AirSofttalk, and I decided and broke down, and I'm going to make a video about what I've done from bone stock till now on my baby Samantha, which is also known as a RPK 47. Now, the base gun that I had for this was a TSD RPK. Now, for the hardcore AK enthusiast, people aren't really going to call this an RPK, and technically they're kind of right. TSD gave this to me at a really kickin' sweet deal because I reviewed it and they knew I wanted one ever since I developed a relationship with them, and they were like, we love you, discount on it, and I was very pleased. I think I paid somewhere in the neighborhood of, I think it was like very low price. It was in the 200 area. I can't really say the exact price, but I'm going to start with what has failed on this gun. Absolutely nothing. Some of the problems I had, though, was I burnt out my Tamiya connectors. That's inevitable considering you're running an 11.1 at about 40,000 in a day. I run 3 drum mags at the moment. I'm buying 2 more. Another thing that's failed is the screw that holds the bipod in place right there broke, and I can't screw it back in, which is not really a complaint to me because the bipod has more free movement, and I like that. So, also the wood handguards like to go too far forward, so I had to tape this until I can find a more permanent fix. That's why one reason why this isn't considered a true RPK is because there's screws right in here which can kind of hit the barrel. But to be honest, it doesn't affect it that much. I really don't like it does that though, because once I buy a Prometheus barrel, I don't want to damage a $70 barrel. Now, besides that, another thing that kind of pissed me off is, if you notice, this isn't silver because I modded my bolt because I hate the TM stupid little tray, and my bolt is an ICS bolt with a converter so it'll fit on the back of the gearbox. My bolt goes all the way back. It sounds really kick butt. GHK AKs don't even go all the way back. They stop right about here. Mine goes all the way back. VFCs don't even go all the way back. So that's another thing. The sling mount on the other side failed. It comes out, so I don't. That's because I had to Dremel out a large portion of the receiver so I could fit thicker gauge wiring. Now, you may be wondering, you've heard TSD RPKs. Let me adjust my camera down a bit. When stock prongs break, TSD finally talked to SRC, and TSD is the importer for SRC, and they finally got really pissed off at him and said, you need to fix this problem. So they did. The stock prongs are a lot thicker, so I can hold my gun by the stock without it breaking. Now, another thing that failed was the motor. The SRC motor died because I wasn't running a fuse, and I did like a 5-minute trigger pull and dumped 2 mags back to back. That killed it, and it overheated. Is what happened. I burnt it out. But the reason I was doing that is because we were going up against some Marines, and I was told by my commanding officer, which wasn't in the military, he says, whatever you do, do not let them move at any cost. So I said, I'll make that happen. I pinned, like, it was just one guy, because he was trying to flank around. I pinned one guy down and dumped mag after mag at him because I was told to not let him move. And then they yelled at me for it. They're like, oh, you're wasting ammo, you're wasting ammo. I'm like, dude, it's my job. Anytime I pull the trigger, it's a waste of ammo. I rarely get people out. All I do is suppress people, and it makes them angry. Now, when my Tamiya connectors burnt out, I was in the middle of, I was a little far up, and we were getting overran by about 35 people. And they were like, fall back, and I overheated one of my batteries, a NiCat, a Nimical Hydrate battery, killed off 2 cells, so I'm getting a 7.2 volt with an M125 string, and my rate of fire is like, pew, 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 pew. And it was enough to actually give the gun a little bit of recoil because it was so slow pulling it back, which is really bad. And then I was like, fuck this. So I hooked up, I told this kid, like, grab my converter. I just yelled at him. He ran, sprinted, hauled ass, got a LiPo out of my backpack, and I couldn't take the battery out because it's that special GMP one that I have to actually physically disassemble my stock to get it in and out. And I just hooked the converter up and held the converter and the thing, and that's when I started to burn out my contacts. But there's 35 people coming at me. I'm just sitting there, and I go, as my shirt says, say goodbye. I had it, and I was like, say goodbye, bitches. And all of a sudden, all the commanding officers that were on the field at the moment were like, everyone turn around, get back to the line. I'm like holding off 35 people with my gun, just like, and then the game ended, and I was since I was in a really awkward position, I had to have my gearbox like right where my ear is. So I'm like sitting there just like, so the game ended, and I had to have someone kind of rip me off my gun, and they're like, the game's over. I was like, oh, my bad, I didn't hear you. My gearbox was right next to my ear. Now it's not the fact that it's loud, but when you're cycling that fast, it's just you know, it's kind of ear deafening. But moving on, I did lose this when I took it off. I've ran 2 different pistons in here. I ran the stock one, which is great. It's a Gen. I also completely swapped the gearbox from a Gen 2 to a Gen 3 because Gen 3s are super awesome. The Gen 2s are really good too. I've done some insane stuff on SRC gearboxes. Like I took one to 44, or it was like 52 rounds a second. Reliably, almost. Not reliably, I take that back. I did it, and it worked. So I replaced the Gen 2 with the Gen 3, and the differences between that is 8mm bearings and better internals, and basically makes it more reliable. Now, the SRC piston, I ran, I think, close to about 30,000 rounds before I bought an azimuth. I had an azimuth last me a day, a light day. I think I only shot like 10,000, 15,000 that day. Very light day. And then I came home and it snapped in half. That was kind of irritating because that's $22. Then I was like, okay, I'll just put another one in. So I put another one in, and it cracked off in the front. Like instead of the piston cracking in the back where they normally do, it cracked towards the front. I don't know how that happened. I did angle of engagement and everything. So I have a third azimuth piston that I'm not touching because I don't want to put it in here, and I was really pissed off that I broke 2 azimuths, and I don't want to break another one because I'm not saying they're bad. I guess they just don't like SRC gearboxes. I also replaced the motor with a Matrix 3000 high torque motor. I wish I could have got a hold of an Element or an SHS motor, but I didn't, and I kind of regret that. But the Matrix motor is quite good. I'm very pleased with the performance that I'm getting. Although it does heat up, but not as fast as the SRC. My motor does heat up because of how many rounds I put downrange. I haven't broken any gears. I replaced the spring, the M120 spring, with a M125 from Matrix. I also, the hop-up unit, I replaced the bucking, but the bucking I wore it out. I just physically wore it out, so like I just had a trash can effect where my groupings at like 150 feet were like a garbage truck, which is pretty bad. I cleaned the barrel. I changed the barrel to a Matrix 650. Worst ever decision in my life, because I wanted to give them a chance and be fair, because I'm not really biased when it comes to trying parts. Or I am a little bit, but I wanted to give them a chance because I heard some good and bad things. My barrel came bent, so I was pretty pissed off about that. So I swapped back to my old barrel, and for my birthday that's coming up, I'm just gonna get a Prometheus because that's the best option. But I replaced it with a Madbull Blue bucking for now, and I'm not happy with Madbull because they wear out really quick for someone who shoots as much like I do, which is quite irritating. So Sistema is going to be dropped into here, and I bought a Polar Star nub to fit in there, but it turns out that TSD differed from SRC and did a few improvements, and they basically have like a built-in Polar Star nub, which is quite cool. So I was like, damn it, I bought that for no reason. why? It was just like, whoa. So I did that, and the stock barrel in here is pretty decent. I wouldn't mind having a tight bore. And another thing, I've used only TSD BBs through this because TSD, I'm not a fanboy of TSD, but I do like their BBs quite a lot. I would. Oh, and another thing, the screw stripped right here for the. Let me move it around. As you can see, that screw has stripped right there. I was trying to mount a scope rail, and I tried to put it back in, and then for whatever reason, I tried to take it out, and it didn't come out because I tried to get a scope mount right here, and it was just too far forward, and it just didn't work out, and I didn't feel safe in trusting the screws that were screwed into the receiver, and I was just like, that's stupid. Now I have a friend that has a press, a hydraulic press, and he's going to put an actual scope mount on the side of my receiver. So I'm going to have that done and get one of those Russian scopes for when I want to be a jerk, because I've hit people at 280 feet with no problem. I use .2s the whole time. I don't really like using heavier grade munition because it costs, there's such a big cost increase. Even though TSD loves me and basically is like, use our BBs, promote them. Well, they never even told me that. I promote them anyways because they're pretty decent quality. They're rebranded off ICS BBs, so to my knowledge. Now, the wiring I did replace. I went to Dean's because Dean's is just so much better. Now, my rate of fire is close to 25 on an 11.1. On a 7.4, it's right around 1,000. But it has been reshimmed, and I've done angle of engagement. Oh yeah, and I replaced the piston head with a Sistema Area 1000 piston head, not the ball bearing one. I'm kind of pissed because that's what it said in the description when I bought it. And someone's calling my phone, but I'm going to ignore it, so I apologize. I replaced that as well, and I'm going to replace the cylinder head because the buffer on it's kind of crappy. That's one thing I wish SRC would have done when they changed this, is they would have gotten rid of the buffer and made it better, because it's just like an O-ring for the buffer. That's it. That's kind of bad. So, also, probably going to end up replacing the bottom foregrip for one of those Romanian ones that you hold with the wooden foregrip right here, because it would make my life a lot easier carrying this rifle around because of the bipod. Now, the bipod does kind of have some wobble and play to it, you can see. But, to be honest, I'm happy with the RPK that I bought. One reason being is because you have so much battery space in here. I can actually house a 14.8 volt, 3000 milliamp battery inside my stock. Battery compartment's bigger than the Echo one, but if you're going for externals, the Echo one's by far better because it's got a one-piece barrel assembly. But mine has receiver wobble, so I wasn't too proud of that. I can't really think of anything else. The drum mags I am going to modify because, well, they're a bit of a pain. They're not a pain, they feed right at 25. So, right at 25 rounds per second, which is right what I need, but I mean, I literally have to hold the winding button down. But there's not much else I can do in terms of that, because I don't want to spend the money and buy a Classic Army drum mag. I've heard really good things about them. I wouldn't mind buying a Classic Army RPK for personal interest. So if anyone's willing to sell theirs to me for a good price or a trade, I'd be willing to do that. But this video is quite long, and I don't expect very many people to watch it. But guys, that's the update on my baby Samantha. I did do a tried to weather it, but it didn't just look as good, so I was just going to give it to my buddy who's really good messing with AKs, and do that. The wood, I have, the scratches you saw on it are from wear and tear from just playing. So guys, I hope you liked this video. Let me know if I should make more updates on personal guns that I've used. I've put a total of probably 120,000 rounds so far on this gun. I love it to death. It's something I've always been able to rely on. It's never really failed me. It's never failed me when I was on the field. When my motor died, it didn't die on the field. It died when I was at home. So, I was kind of happy about that. But guys, let me know if I should make more videos like this, and thanks for watching.